Okay, so I copied the key concept for you to do, to have on this lesson, which is super important. And that is this right here is, so there's quadratic functions, right, which is anything that has your degree, your highest degree of 2, right? It's going to make a parabola. The quadratic formula is a formula that you can use for any quadratic function ever to get the zeros or where it's going to hit the x-axis, okay? So the quadratic formula, which you should commit to memory, is this. X equals negative b plus or minus. So you're going to end up getting 2 answers. So you can't do it at the same time. So you would do negative b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. And then you would do negative b minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. One thing, parentheses around this top part, okay? Meaning you should do that part first. And also usually some parentheses too around this part in the middle or in the underneath the radical, okay? And that part underneath the radical is called the discriminant, which we're going to get to that. But so the b squared minus 4ac right here is called the discriminant. And the reason that it is called that is because if if you only know that, that's going to determine how many solutions we're going to have. Because under that radical sign, right, what do we know? If you try to take the square root of a negative, how many times can you have a solution? 0. There's 0 solutions. So automatically, if that guy is negative, there's going to be no solution. If that is positive, there will be 2 solutions. And if it is 0 itself, there's only going to be 1 solution. That's the discriminant right there. Okay, so let me just kind of show you. So it says, what are the solutions of x squared minus 8 equal 2x? Use the quadratic formula. So it's asking, where does this hit the x-axis? Now, in order for it to work, we have to set it equal to 0. So that's what we're going to do first. Okay? So what we would do is subtract 2x from both sides. All right? So we're going to rewrite this in order. X squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. That's the quadratic formula. Okay? Now, sometimes you're going to go, oh, can I make this into binomials? What would multiply to get negative 8 but add to get negative 2, right? And so some of you already know that, but we're going to do it in another way and use the quadratic formula because that works for all of them. So here we go. Negative b, right? So negative what? Negative 2, yep. And then we're going to start with plus. It says plus or minus, but we're going to start with plus the square root of, and we're going to use a parenthesis, b squared. So negative 2 squared. Actually, we're going to have 2 parentheses here. Minus 4 times a. What's a? 1 times c. Negative 8. Yep. And then it's all divided by 2 times a. So 2 times 1. So that's a big old long quadratic formula. You simplify as you go. What's a negative? Negative 2. Positive 2. And now we're going to say plus. Now we're going to simplify underneath here, okay? So what is negative 2 squared? Positive 4. And then I'm going to do this part actually first. So the brackets here. I'm going to put brackets in here. What is 4 times 1 times negative 8? 4 times 1 is 4. Negative 32. Yes, that's right. Okay. And now this is all going to get divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay. And I know we should have had more space here. So what is 4 minus negative 32? What's minus negative means? Add, right? So it's really like 4 plus 32, right? So now we have 2 plus the square root of 36, all divided by 2. Well, what's the square root of 36? 6. So my first answer is going to be 2 plus 6 divided by 2, which is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. How do we get the other answer?
Minus.
We're going to change that plus to a minus. So now we can do all the way to the end here. Instead of 2 plus 6, we would do 2 minus 6 divided by 2. Well, what's 2 minus 6? Negative 4, yep. Divided by 2 is negative 2, okay? And so x equal 4 and x equal negative 2 is our 2 solutions using the quadratic formula. All right? Now, do those multiply to get negative 8 and add to get negative 2? They do. So, would it have been quicker to do binomials there? Yes. So, that's why we teach you the binomials, you know, because sometimes that's way quicker. But this quadratic formula works for every quadratic function, even the ones that you cannot factor in binomials. So this will work for every single one ever, okay? Doing binomials would have been a lot quicker there. So if you know it and you can do binomials, do it, okay? But if it specifically says use the quadratic formula, do you think you have to use the quadratic formula and show your work? Okay. Hold on real quick. I need to take a look at the back side. Okay, back side is just using the discriminant. But let's do problem 2. So problem 2, actually let's save problem 2 because it is going to be a story problem one. I'm not going to do it on the video, but I do want to do the discriminant ones on the video. So turn the page. Okay, so I copied the discriminant part on the next page in the middle where it says using the discriminant, and I kind of cheated already and told you, but the main idea about a discriminant is that number underneath the radical, that part will tell you how many solutions. So if that part under the radical, the b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0, if it's positive, that means your parabola is going to cross the x-axis in 2 spots. There's going to be 2 solutions. If it is exactly equal to 0, it's only going to hit in 1 spot. Either the maximum or the minimum will hit once. It'll be 1 solution. And if it is less than 0, you cannot take the square root of a negative. Well, eventually you will, and you're going to get an imaginary number and put an I on it, but that's not till later in your math life, okay? And it will not hit at all, so there'll be no solution for right now, okay? Now, let me give you an example. So, using the discriminant. So, sometimes the question isn't what is the solution, it's how many solutions are there. And without graphing it, you can figure it out. So in this case, it says, how many real number solutions does 2x squared minus 3x equal negative 5 have? Okay, what's the first thing that needs to happen here before I can do anything? Cody, what's first? Set it equal to 0. That's right. So we're going to add 5 here and add 5 over here. So it's really 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals 0 first. Now, we're only going to use our discriminant if it asks us how many solutions. And the discriminant is the b squared minus 4ac. Okay? So my b squared would be negative 3 squared. I put that in parentheses because when you put that in your calculator without the parentheses, it'll throw the negative on the end of the answer. But we know negative 3 times negative 3 is what? Positive 9, right? Minus 4, and I like to do this in parentheses too. Times a, what's a? 2. Times c, what's c? 5. Okay, so we know negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 5, minus 40. What's 9 minus 40? So the question is, how many solutions will we have? We're going to have no solution, right? Because this is going to end up underneath the radical sign, and we cannot take the square root of a negative, so there is no solutions to this one. It's not going to hit the x-axis. If this came out to be 0, there'd be 1 solution. If it came out to be a positive number, 2 solutions. Okay, that's the gist of the lesson for the video for today. If you have questions, make sure you email